We always extend the show every single Wednesday by a few minutes. And we do that because we like to play press conferences live. And something, when Nick Saban talks, we listen. We do the same thing during our midday show. We talk about on Monday, we play the Nick Saban press conference live. We are the flagship station of Alabama football. You would expect that, right? I mean, if you went to South Bend, Indiana, you would expect that you would hear Brian Kelly talk. Whenever he talks, that it would be carried live, right? So being the flagship, we have that responsibility. When Nick Saban talks, we listen. We go back to the Nick Saban show with Eli Gold every Thursday evening beginning at 7 o'clock. We carry that live. Certainly Alabama football is a part of our station. So we have a great relationship with the University of Alabama, and we try to focus in on the Crimson Tide. And so last night when we played that, Nick Saban got us all fired up a little bit. And I've had a few hours to let this marinate and begin to develop some conversations. And first off, the question is, what'd you think? Well, and for those who may not have heard it, that maybe you've been busy, Nick Saban had some opening comments, and it sounded like Nick Saban was a little bit irritated when he walked in that press room and delivered the opening statement. We're going to play the opening statement, but I want you to key in on a couple of words. He talked about entitlement. And he began to go on this rant even before he was asked a question. Tell me if you hear the same thing with this heated Nick Saban. This is the opening comments. This was prior to any question that was asked from the media. This was strictly Nick Saban walking in a room and delivering the opening statement before the questions were asked. He was already heated when he walked in that room. This is what the best coach in college football had to say.
Well, I really do think that we need to have do a really good job in our preparation this week. I think this team has consistently gotten better and played really well last week against a really good Texas A&M team. So they're improving every week. I think they're responding to doing things the way they need to do to have success, as a team. So I think it's important that everybody on our team understands that, no one's really entitled to anything. You got to go earn it. People that are entitled think they're inherently deserving of something, which, you really don't get. So everybody needs to take ownership of what they need to do to be responsible to do their job and do it at a high level. And I think it's important to prepare that way, throughout the course of the week. So, that's something that we continue to focus on as coaches to try to get our players to be able to do so that we can go up there and play a good game. I think you got to really do it when you play on the road, especially in our league. And, all these places are tough places to play, and Arkansas is certainly a tough place to play. So we got to have the proper respect to go take ownership of what we need to do to play to our standard.
So Nick Saban kept talking about entitlement, taking ownership, prepare that way. And so we've watched Nick Saban use these press conferences as ways to get to his team. I think yesterday he had a chance to deliver a message to the fans. So we're going to hear that coming up here in about 2 minutes because I want to jump ahead a little bit, but I also want to take us back in time. Sometimes you got to go back in time to appreciate what is happening now. I say this, and I say it with great confidence. We are walking through the greatest dynasty college football has ever witnessed. We're talking about 5 out of the last 9 years, and Alabama's on record pace to do it again. And for those Auburn fans in the back of the room, that would be 6 out of 10. 5 out of the last 9, we're playing with house money. I'd like to go back just for a couple of minutes, and I want to run through. When Coach Gene Stallings retired here after winning 10 games, this university went into a spin. Mike DeBose was promoted, as we know. His first season, 4-7, 7-5, 10-3, SEC title. We thought, oh man, here we go. We're on a pace with Sean Alexander and Big Chris Samuels on that left tackle and all those football players that allowed us to win an SEC title. 10-3. Next year, we started out third in the country. We were quickly upset, and another spiral began to fall. 3-8. 7-5, 10-3, and the NCAA sanctions begin to hit us in the mouth. We hired Price and the scandal, and no one would even take, no one would even take the Alabama job. That you had to call on a Band-Aid, a person who played quarterback here, just to get us through those rough days. Mike Sheila opened up the 2003 campaign. Heavy sanctions, as we know. We beat South Florida. We lost to Oklahoma. We beat Kentucky. And then we watched a player by the name of Michael Touchdown Turner. That's right, Northern Illinois came to Tuscaloosa in front of our fans and beat us and ran all over us 19-16. We then welcomed the Razorbacks. Yep, that same Arkansas team that Nick Saban's never lost to. 34-31 here in Tuscaloosa. We travel to Georgia, and we talk about that game. Anybody want to go back to that game? I think we're down to our third or fourth string quarterback. And if I remember correctly, Ramsey Robinson got quarterback work during the week in preparations, because I believe Brody and Spencer were both hurt. Brandon Avalos started that game, if I'm not mistaken. And that was over in Georgia. We lost that game, 37-23. We came back. We played Southern Miss. We got a win there. And a team that we rarely ever lose to, Ole Miss, 43-28. I believe that was the game that Eli Manning had that big first half, and that was when Mike Sheila threw the box in the middle of the room. We'll talk more about that later. When we talk about Tennessee coming to town, 51-43. I'm reminding you of these hard losses because it's a dose of reality. When you talk about Mississippi State, yeah, we're going to take care of those guys, and we lost our final three. LSU, Auburn, yeah, and even Hawaii. Yeah. That team, the Rainbows, they got us. We went on to finish 4-9. The next year, we were 6-6. Mike Sheila was able to salvage a football team. We won 10 games his third year, a 10-2. We bounced back and we lost 6-6. Joe Kynes coached the Independence Bowl down in Shreveport, and we ended up with a 6-7 record. Nick Saban arrived. We were all excited, right? We met him at the airport. He even had one individual that kissed him at the airport because we'd been in the darkness so long. We were excited to see this national championship coach rejuvenate our fan base, rejuvenate our program, because the NCAA sanctions had took us to our knees. And even, what was the quote? Looking down the barrel of the gun. Well, this guy by the name of Nick Saban came in. He brought passion. He took a perfect marriage between the fans and the passion of the Alabama Crimson Tide. He walked in 7-6, Independence Bowl, certainly not what we're expecting, but you could see things were building. That 2008 recruiting class, a launching pad for a chance to win the SEC West, go to Atlanta. Didn't really work out our way, but you could see things were right in the right direction. 2009, we delivered our first national title with a 14-0 season, first one since 1992, and Coach Stallings won that one post-Bryant. You could believe that Saban had got the Crimson Tide, and if I remember the article that's hanging on my shelf at home, I believe it says Bama is back, if I'm not mistaken, if that was the year, if I'm not how my year's confused. When you look at 2010, complacency set in. We won 10 football games. South Carolina derailed something that even a lot of players look back and say, dadgummit, that was a talented team and should not have lost that 3 games. We let complacency slip in. Well, we bounced back. Certainly 2011 was a challenging year for this city, and that football team gave us an outlet to get away from everyday life as we were picking up the pieces here in Tuscaloosa. And they gave us something to put hope in. Even though LSU made a stumble here at home on November the 5th of 2011, we got them in New Orleans. We won another BCS national title. Next season, A.J. McCarron, a year older, led that team to another national title, back-to-back BCS championships. 2013, we have to remember about 2013. That was that darn kick six season and a chance to do something that had never been done in college football. Then we work our way through these championships. We skip to 2015. You look at Nick Saban once again. 14 wins, 1 loss. Alabama captures college football playoff national championship. We made an appearance in 2016. We kind of stunk it up on third down. Defense had to defend 99 plays. We lost that championship down in Tampa. I think last year, I don't think there's any too much a reminder. We were down in the second half. Tua Tagovailoa comes in. We win a national title. I say all that to remind you, we talk about appreciation. And when you talk about a guy like Nick Saban who's given everything he's got to this university, I can understand the frustration when you hear Nick Saban going off in a press room. And I know his message was to students, but I was there at the game last Saturday. I looked around, not just the student section. There was a lot of empty seats. I guess my question is, have we become a bunch of spoiled, rotten little brats? In certain ways, I know I have. And I think last night was a good wake-up call. I think last night was a good presentation from Nick Saban, just to kind of appreciate. And I wanted to go back through because it doesn't take very long to look back, and you could find some stumbles. Now, I understand the argument of students, and I understand, it's 11 a.m. game, especially when you're hungover from Friday night. You stumble out of the bars 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, get to bed, 11 a.m., got to get there early. I get it, bad competition. But I think we've let complacency come back in. And what I heard last night was a coach. It was a pep rally. It was a motivation. It was an encouragement to let's get that fire that's back. Because I think we all see the potential in this football team with Tua Tagovailoa at the offensive side of the football, the potential, maybe doing something that's never been done in college football, going 3 in a row. Nobody's ever done that. Not Alabama, Oklahoma, not Notre Dame. Nobody has been able to win 3 in a row. When you look at Alabama, they're certainly primed to do that when you talk about winning back to back to back. But it'll take us to kind of get behind this football team. And I think that's what Nick Saban's outcrying was, to motivate us, to fire us up a little bit. And listening to that press conference, it certainly fired me up. Let's go back and listen to that entitlement clip. He was asked a question about Tua Tagovailoa and about the Aloha spirit that they have got behind Tua Tagovailoa, the fans, the Lays. And then he talked about the sport. And listen to what Nick Saban took a question about a quarterback and turned it around and got what was on his mind, or got off what he wanted to say off his chest.
Well, I think it's great. I think that, I think what makes this a special experience here is when we have, great support from everybody in the program, everybody that supports the program, all of our fans, all of our students. I can honestly say I was a little disappointed that there weren't more students at the last game. And I think we're trying to address that. I don't think they're entitled to anything either. And me personally, I think it ought to be first come, first served. And if they don't want to come to the games, they don't have to come. But I'm sure there's enough people around here that like to go to the games and would like for them to come too, because they support the players. So I've never said anything about that before. When I first came here, we used to play that tradition thing up there, and everybody was cheering and excited and happy, and there was great spirit. All right, now they don't even cheer. They introduce our players. Nobody even cheers. So I don't know. Maybe there's something else somebody ought to talk about. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it. Maybe I already talked about more than I should. So you all can beat me up for that if you want. But look, our players work too hard, and they deserve to have everything and people supporting them in every way and have tremendous spirit for what they've done. And they may not be able to continue to do it. We're going to work hard to try to continue that. But there's a part of it that other people need to support them too. And there's got to be a spirit that makes it special to play here, because that's what makes it special to be here. And if that's not here, then does it continue to be special to be here or not? I mean, that's a question everybody's got to ask, and I'm asking it right now. So I'm hopeful that we've always had great people travel on the road with us and had great spirit on the road. And we've got great fans, so I appreciate that. But, to see half the student section not full, I've never seen that since I've been here before.
Nick Saban fired up, and he got us fired up as well. I'm excited. Hopefully I can serve as a little bit of a rallying point to kind of further concrete the message that Nick Saban had last night. Let's open it up. 205-342-9904. Nick Saban fired up. We're going to talk about a lot of different things today. We're certainly going to talk about that. But what was your reaction? You think Coach Saban was right? Do you think we've allowed complacency to set in? I mean, do we need to be reminded that Mike Shula and 6-6 and 4-9 certainly was not the standard, but that darkness was not too far ago, and now we're walking around sense of entitlement? Let's talk about it. 205-342-9904. Dawson, you lead us out this afternoon. Good afternoon. You're in the game.
Well, Ryan, if I keep on starting off the program like this, I'll be like Pee-wee down there.
Well, hey, I try to take everybody in order, man. Everybody in order.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to tell everybody you moved me to the front. But anyway, Ryan. Ryan, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate what Coach Saban had to say, and I think that he had to say it. I mean, he's, and I'm glad he did say it. And there's times when Coach Bryant was here, things weren't exactly, like, the peripheral things that had to do with the football program. If he thought he needed to say something to kind of energize it, he would. And I think that from time to time, when you see that kind of thing happening, you say something. But at the same time, when you schedule crap games, I detest these crap games. They mean nothing, and they just get your players hurt. Your players are not energized by it. They're not intense about it. They're kind of going halfway through the motions and end up getting themselves shoved around. I mean, that team we played week before last, they shoved us around some. And maybe it was last week. I tell you what, time moves fast. Maybe it was last week, but I mean, they kind of shoved us around at times. And why? Is because they could not, and it's only because we let them. We just didn't really. We're just kind of going through the motion. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I think when you schedule these crap games, I mean, nobody really. I think there were thousands of people there now.
But Dawson, let me ask you a question. And there was a lot of empty seats, not just the students. I know it's the students is an easy target, but I think there was a lot of empty seats. Okay?
But there were a lot of field seats too. I mean, I know Brian, how many do you think was out of 102,000? How many do you think was there? 90,000?
I don't even think there was 90,000. I mean, there was.
I mean, there was a lot of people there.
I would let me go back and look at the official number of the attendance. Now, I know, but see, they listed it as paid attendance. Well, sure, all the tickets were gone, but there was so many people that didn't show up for that game. It was unbelievable. I would probably say I bet it was closer to 70,000 than it was 90,000. I mean, there was empty seats. It kind of reminded you a little bit of an A-Day game.
Well, I tell you what much more on the field competition-wise. And A-Day had more competition on the field, But Ryan, don't get me wrong. Now the students should be there. Now I will address that. Now the general ticket holder, whatever. But he's right. Those students get special treatment about those tickets. You follow what I'm saying?
They do.
And they should be there. Don't waste it. And I'll still say this: there's plenty of people that will be there if you let them know early enough that you're not going to use your ticket. If you know you're not going to come to games. Say so at the early part of the week and get rid of them. Somebody will take them and be there. And, that's some of the problems. You're not going to be there, then, let somebody, don't waste a good ticket. Somebody take your ticket and they'll be there. And, but anyway, I'm glad he said what he did. But I don't think it's complacency. I honestly don't. Look, when you're having great success like we are, there's only a natural sense of comfort. Ryan, it's not really complacency. It just, it's very comfortable, and sometimes you have to shake that comfort up, especially if it comes to the players. They're the ones that have to do it, and actually produce. But I think it is important.
But I mean, think about this, okay? Why don't we just split the difference? Why don't we say 80,000? You said 90. I said 70. Okay. Why don't we just split the difference? We'll say 80,000. We got the number one team in college football. Number one team. There's other programs that would die to have the success that we are having now. with everything that program has given us as satisfaction, enjoyment that we enjoy watching us beat everybody. We're 35-point favorite against Arkansas, and nobody's going to beat us, and we're going to win another national title. And you walk in, and as Coach Saban reminded us, that even when they do the lineup, that the fans are not excited anymore. They're not even standing up and cheering. I mean, think about that for a minute. Has complacency set in?
And again, Ryan, I think that's more again, and they should. They really should. And I tell you what, when you go through a famine for a while, that part of the urgency, that part of your emotion gets stirred up. It's all about emotion. Right now, everything's going so good that it's kind of like that. If you don't get steak very often, you think it's the best thing you've ever eaten. But if you get steak every day, it just don't mean as much to you.
I'm with you.
You're not as hungry for it. So it's kind of some of that. And again, it doesn't mean as much to you. I guarantee you it means just as much to everybody as it ever did. But and it'll be different. With this an SEC game coming up this week, it'll be different. Okay?
Okay.
Even though Arkansas is not very good, it is an SEC team. And so it will be different. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of people traveling. But one thing real quick, and I'll jump off of that. But you're right. I'm glad you're making an emphasis, and I'm glad the coach did, because he is right. Those students ought to be there and support these players. But let's remember this, and I do believe this is the best team ever. Okay, I believe that. I believe this is the best team that Alabama has ever had. In my 71 years, I don't think I've ever seen an Alabama team with more talent, more ability, and using that. It's not just because we got the talent; they're using it, and they're doing something with it. It's one thing to have all that talent; it's another thing to do something with it. They're doing something with it. Last year, we said the same thing at this point in the season. We said we believe this may be the best team we've ever had. Then we lost to Auburn. so I guess I gotta tell you, you got to keep pressing on, right?
Hey, no doubt, Dawson. Thank you for your phone call. I appreciate you, and we're going to get to other phone calls. Nick Saban, big rant. Was Nick Saban right to say what he did? I say yes, but I can also understand the other frustration from the other side. We'll talk about it. Cap, Scotty, you guys hold through the break. We're coming to you next, right here on The Game in T-Town on Tide 102.9 and 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Cap, good afternoon, sir. You're in the game.
Spend my dollar. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Hey, is that the 5 o'clock song?
Free Dixieland Delight is all I'm hearing from the students, man.
Yeah,
that's the Twitter excuse. One guy said it was a boycott, man. They're going to boycott the best team in history of Alabama. I saw that on Twitter on a couple of guys. Seriously.
The problem is, and our student population has changed. We got a lot of out-of-state students. Go ahead.
Yep.
We got a lot of out-of-state students that probably don't even know who we're playing.
70% now, I think, are about out of state. And I think about 5 to 6, 7 years ago, it was like 70% were in state. And that's a lot of it. I've got friends.
It is because, Cap, I don't know if you can adopt the passion of Crimson Tide. You're born in this state. I was born in this state. Many people, and I'm not saying just because you're born in the state means you're a bigger Alabama fan. Listen, we got a lot of neighboring states too. We have a lot of callers, Mississippi, Tennessee, Florida. But you grow up. Yeah, you grow up and developing this passion and energy. I don't know if you could just jump on the ship and automatically get that card.
Well, if you go through the bad years like we did with DeBose and Shula, of course, I'm old enough. I went through all the great Bryant years, but, and then you go through the lull and then you come back up, you appreciate it. If you just get here for the good stuff, that's what you expect. I mean, it's kind of like your kid. If you give them everything all the time, well, then they always come back to you and expect you to keep giving, right?
Sure.
Same thing. I mean, if they don't fail, or if they don't get what they want, they don't appreciate what you do give them. So, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Dawson said it best. If you eat steak all the time, steak is not a big deal. But if you don't get it, when you do get to eat it, hey, it's a big deal. So, I mean, the students need to show up. I know when I was a student down there, I showed up. I mean, you couldn't keep me away from a game. You can't keep me away from normally now. And I didn't go to this past one, so I can't really, say, hey, everybody needs to be there. But I did sell my tickets to Alabama fans, so there was somebody there in my place. But Coach Saban wasn't just sending a message to the fans. I do agree with what you said earlier about we could make a three-peat run, especially with Tua this year and next year. And hopefully, his senior year, but I doubt he'll be here. But I think he was sending a message for recruiting.
He was.
Because he said, when he asked the question, is it still the special place to be, or ever how it was worded? I know you played the sound clip, but you know how he said it. He was letting them know, hey, look, we want guys to come here, and if this is still a special place to be, well, what do you always hear these recruits say? They made me feel like it was home, show me the love. I mean, you read these Twitter things, they want you to show them the love. They want to be treated like, kings. I mean, that's what they want nowadays, right? They want you to roll out the red carpet. And that's what he's saying. If you don't even cheer when they show the tradition video anymore and they announce the starters and all that or whatever, and you're just kind of...
Cap, let me add something to this. And for those who don't follow recruiting as much as maybe some, Nick Saban has had to fight negative recruiting for the last year and a half as probably as heavy as he's ever had it, okay? They have criticized his program, and this is another rebuttal that those other opposing coaches can use. And they can see, they're losing energy there. That program is swinging down, even though we all know it's not. These negative recruiting coaches around the SEC, they've used tons of stuff. And I think this is another one of those that they can try to use against Nick Saban. Even though we counter the message, they can still use it, especially the guy in Athens, Georgia. He's nothing but a snake anyway. He'll lie in front of Jesus.
I named him Benedict Bowlcut.
Yeah, well, and that's probably fair as well.
Well, hey, look, here's the thing, too, though, to add on to that. Now Coach Saban is recruiting against 5 or 6 other Coach Sabans, and I'm not saying that they're equal to him, but they know his recruiting strategy. So, See, when he first got here, he was reeling off number one with ease because nobody knew his strategy. I mean, they didn't know how to recruit like he's recruiting. Now he's got, Kirby, Muschamp, Pruitt, Fisher. I mean, he's got 4 or 5 at least in the conference that know what to do. They go out there and they're using the same spiel. And
he's getting hit from a lot of different angles. He really is.
He is. Let me ask you something too. And I didn't. This first time I got to call him this week, man. I've been busy, but you can't still give a score prediction, can you?
No, we only try to do that on Tuesday, and we'll do our parlay picks tomorrow, which Alabama will be included.
I knew you had those. Man, I missed it. Hey, well, anyway, I think Bama's going to roll to. I just, I almost feel sorry for Arkansas. They're getting better on defense. They've got a decent defense, but I see Bama winning, covering that spread easy. I'm saying something like 55-0 or 55-3. And also, Tua probably, and don't take this wrong. And I know fans will, I don't think it's that, but a lot of people get disappointed when Tua comes out of the game.
No, you're right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I said it's like going to a concert. You paid to see Aerosmith, but somebody comes up and sings the last 2 best songs. I mean, it is. And I mean,
I didn't hear that, but
yeah.
I said that because I was having to work this past weekend, so I watched it. And when he come out of the game, and this is nothing against Jalen, because Jalen has improved. You and I know. I heard a guy on another show, by the way, said that you and Bama Bo were the worst ones to ever crush Jalen and constantly dogging him. it was on. Oh gosh, I think it was on Jay Barker's show, or it was on Martin Houston's show. It was on in the other morning, and some guy called in and said that it was. Is it J. Paul, or I can't remember his name. He calls into this show too. Anyway, he was.
Well, now we banned one of those guys for. That could have been if it was a guy, and I'm not going to say his name, but he made some racist remarks here on this program, and we banned him. So he's probably a little bit mad at us anyway. But
I think it's that too, though.
Yeah,
I mean, when Jalen comes in, just the energy of the crowd, the team, you could tell it changes. Just because when Tua's in there, every play you feel like, oh, this is going to be some kind of, exciting pass. Well, it's always like, is he going to complete this one too? You know what I'm saying? You're kind of on the edge of your seat.
Sure.
And like you said, you pay to see one thing and you see another. But when he's only playing, I think I added up the other day, he's played 73 minutes and like 36 seconds this year, which adds up to like one full game and almost a quarter in 5 games. And Jalen's played almost 52 minutes. I added this up the other day. And when you see that, I'm just saying, you can just tell the crowd.
I hear your, it's a good rebuttal. Cap, I pushed up against this break, man, but I appreciate your phone call and inside. Great conversation here.
Hey, roll
Thank
Tide.
you. Absolutely. And, he brought up a caller. I think it's the first time I've ever banned anybody in 18 years of doing radio. But he kept making some derogatory comments, and we just told him if he was going to keep that up, he could contribute to another show. So I guess he's found another one. We'll continue. We'll take more phone calls. Scotty, Jason, and Bubba coming up next right here on The Game in Tuscaloosa and Tide 102.9. Scotty, Chattanooga, you're inside the game. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Ryan, what's happening?
I'm well, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just looking forward to the game tomorrow, Saturday, and looking forward to the game against Missouri as well. I think I'm going to be able to make it to Bryant-Denny for homecoming. So
I got you.
First game of the year.
Scotty, what'd you think about what Nick Saban said?
Well, Ryan, I got an opinion, and I hopefully could have thought about it while I was on hold. And I'm going to ride both sides of the fence just a little bit and give you my opinion. I lived in Tuscaloosa there for 4 years, and I lived 2 blocks from the stadium. And when I lived that close, I went to every home game. And I generally, against the non-conference teams, would leave a little bit early. And the reason I'd leave early, and I remember that when a few years ago when I lived there, Nick Saban made the comment about people leaving early, and I remember, and I don't know who it was against, but we were up by 30 or 40 points, and I wanted to leave early because, I believe it was the year that we had to have, I believe it was 2012, when we had to have a few teams lose just so we could get into the BCS game. I think Oregon had to lose, and maybe Oklahoma State, or and that game was coming on, and I remember leaving, and people kind of gave me a dirty look because it was right after Nick Saban had said something. I'm like, I'm going home to watch that game, and we ended up, getting into the BCS game that year and winning our second in a row. 11 o'clock, Ryan, is really, really early, and we're also playing a non-conference cupcake team. And I think that the message Nick Saban was sending was more about his ultimate agenda is to get to play non-conference games. But Ryan, also, why not at least do Power Fives instead of those games? Do you think the crowd would have been different?
Scotty, I've asked this question before.
Okay, what if Northwestern, who's got a good football team, would have been our opponent?
Well, let me ask you this question. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I've heard from multiple different people inside that football building the difficulties of trying to get opponents to play Alabama. Because basically what you're doing is you're walking up to Northwestern. Let's just use your example. You're walking up to Northwestern, you're saying, okay, will you take a loss in 2020 before you ever start the season? That's what you're doing. And it's hard for these teams and this current coaches, where you need, 6, 7 wins. They'd rather schedule a non-conference opponent, get a free win, and qualify to go to a bowl game. It's just hard to get.
They would, right. Yeah, that's, in the 9-game, like I said, but 11 o'clock is extremely early. And one thing, and I think when Nick Saban says things are being worked on, one thing that I would think, and, why not, if you have other jumbos, why not have some of the TVs that are in the corridors there why not have some other games? I mean, people like to watch other games. Ryan, people leave early because guess what? The SEC has huge games coming on, and people want to go tailgate and watch those games at their tailgate. People also, students, they want to drink. I mean, let's call it like it is. They've done whatever they snuck into the stadium. They've already drank, and it's just now. It's 2:30, 3 o'clock now, and they're ready to drink a little bit more. Okay, let's just call it like it is.
Sure.
And I think you'll see a much better support at the Missouri game.
But as a way, and we've talked about this before, we've sold out to TV. Is this a byproduct of selling out to TV? I think that's the other question.
I do think that. And right, I mean, you got to look at the spring game, Nick Saban's first year versus now. This past year was pretty good crowd too. Everybody wanted to see Tua, but I mean, each year it's gone down just a little bit each year. The spring game's not quite what it was his first couple of years because I mean we were hungry. It goes back to being hungry, and I think he wants to keep I think the message was to the players. I think it was about recruiting. He wants to make sure that they stay hungry. And what did there was a player or somebody tweeted out about the Penn State game versus our game. That's apples to oranges, Ryan. I mean, you got to look at it. I mean, if we were playing Ohio State last Saturday, there wouldn't have been. Tickets would have been $300 a ticket on the market, and there wouldn't have been a seat in the student section at 9 a.m. And there wouldn't have been an empty seat if it had been that game. I mean, Auburn's coming up at the end of the year, Ryan. You're not going to be able to get in there. I mean, I'll go to that game, but you're not going to be able to just walk into the student section and sit anywhere you want.
Sure.
So I think it's more about the opponent.
I think it is. I think it is too. But I mean, so I guess to make these games more competitive, do we want to reduce the quality of team?
Well, I think too that like you brought up about trying to get them to come. See, if it was a Northwestern or an Illinois or an Oklahoma State, they are going to require home and home, correct? To where the teams that we have coming in, Arkansas State, they don't require us to go back to their stadium the next year.
And Scotty, I don't have enough time here to get into the conversation because I got phone calls. We lined up. We got a guest coming up in a few minutes, but I think a lot of it is what we've done is you got to sacrifice. Okay, if you do a home and home, you're losing a lot of millions of dollars because a home and home is good for that one season. But the following season, you give up one of your home attendance games.
That's correct. That's exactly. I mean, that's the problem because you can't get a Northwestern to come one time and that's it. Because they ain't gonna do it. I mean,
no. They're gonna tell you to go jump off the bridge.
Northwestern would love to come play Alabama if we had to go to. I don't even know where Northwestern's in Chicago.
Chicago.
We ain't going.
Hey, Scotty, good stuff, man. Thank you, sir, for your phone call.
Okay, buddy. Have a good day, Ryan. I'm ready for the rest of the show.
Absolutely. We'll continue here. Let's go to Jason. Good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan. How's it going?
Man, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing well.
Doing pretty good.
Well, you tagged me in that message last night on Facebook.
Man,
that crazy's out there.
I tell you what, I had to have somebody see it with their own eyes other than myself, man. That was probably the biggest disappointment I've ever had in the student population at Alabama ever.
Tell folks that don't know about it. Tell them what you did last night on Facebook and explain the student group.
There's a Facebook page. I'm not going to tell the exact page. I don't want to get all into that. There's a Facebook page that talks about tickets for students. I went on there and basically said, y'all need to pay attention to this. Saban is going off about the students. Y'all need to show up. Just basically that was what it was roundabout. And the the amount of students that posted on the post that I put out saying they didn't care. This was something to do with some, like the guy spoke to earlier about the Dixieland Delight protest. Like, I understand, I want Dixieland Delight back, like some of y'all, but like to say that you're protesting over a song, that's garbage. It's funny because they only protest those more cupcake quote unquote games. But basically, like I say, I was extremely disappointed. Every excuse you could think of for the students not being there this past Saturday was stated, and it was really disheartening. I'll be honest with you, to see the student population say that they don't care what Saban says, they don't care about Alabama football, and that any and every excuse they could equate it to, like, my tuition went up last year, so I don't care about this football team. Like, literally the most illogical, asinine, just stupid excuses you could come up with. And it really, in my mind, just kind of solidified the fact that Coach Saban is 100% right on what he said. And I wish he would have said it earlier. The thing is these kids feel like they're entitled. They don't understand that getting tickets is a privilege. And they sure don't understand that when you're not a student, when you get done being a student in Alabama, you don't pay $75, $80 for an entire season packet. You might as well add an extra zero onto that if you want season tickets. I think that's a lot of what really ticks people off, is the fact that they know these students pay they pay less than $100 for an entire home season ticket. And you got everybody else entitled.
But Jason, I'm gonna throw darts at students, and I agree with you. That was an empty section, but I'm pushed up against this break.
Gotcha.
But because we got a guest coming up at 3, and we got Stedman Sheila coming up at 3:15. But the one thing is, when you look at students, a lot of that was block seating, and for those who don't understand, that student organization, and a lot of that empty seats. Because if you notice. Think about it. If you're a student, if you walk in, would you rather have a seat down low or down at the bottom? Well, they blocked those off for the Greeks, and the Greeks are not showing up.
And I was trying to avoid it because I'm not too fond of the Greeks, because they've been doing this ever since I was a student. They would block it off and then they wouldn't show up. This really needs to be a wake-up call for the Greeks, and I hope that what Coach Saban was talking about when something's in the works, I hope they do away with block seating, because it should be first come, first serve across the board. Just because you throw money at something doesn't mean you should have it your way. And hey, man.
Well, we're going to have to pick back up this conversation. I'm hearing a lot of frustration, but I think we've also, each and every one of us, I think last night was a pep rally from Nick Saban. I think it was a pep rally, and I got something out of it because I was fired up after listening to it. And Jason, I appreciate you calling. I appreciate you helping me on that Facebook, because, man, I was watching some of those posts and reading some of those comments, and I was getting frustrated as much as you were, man. But I appreciate your call. I got to go to this guest, AP Stedham, coming up in a couple of minutes. Jason, here in Tuscaloosa, thank you so much.
I don't think it has anything to do with the student body. This is actually his fault and his problem, and they have scheduled this way on purpose. It works. They got 5 of the last 10 national championships, but you cannot complain when people don't show up to watch you play Sally Struthers State University, where we know the game's going to be over before it even kicks. You cannot whine and moan about that kind of stuff if you're going to continue year after year to play this kind of non-conference schedule. If they're not showing up against LSU, that's one thing. But here's what we know about Alabama fans. They're crazy maniacs. They're as passionate as any fan base in college football. They're going to be there. He talked about the road fans. There's a reason they all show up on the road, because you play teams of valor. You play teams of worth. You're not playing Eric Estrada A&T. You're playing good teams on the road. That's why they show up. That's why they go. So Saban, with peace and love, you don't really have an argument. Shut up, deal with it, because this is your schedule. You did this to yourself.
Chris Chowder, certainly a friend of ours. We feature him quite often here on this program. Does that show on Sirius XM, and great audio clip. Certainly he's got a right to his opinion. What did you think about Nick Saban saying what he said let's start out with David. David, good afternoon, sir. You're in.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking my call today. Hey, before
Thank
I
you.
get into that, can I ask you a question? I know people have been complimenting you and wishing you well and seeing how you were doing. I could have swore I heard you yesterday say you were mid-flighted to Orlando.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
No. I took a flight to Orlando. No, listen, man, my back is no. I had and let me just catch people up real quick. I had back surgery 2 weeks ago on Tuesday, so I'm about 16, 17 days. I was supposed to be down for a little bit longer, and man, I feel great. No. I'm actually
Okay.
I'm down here. My wife, I think people know or may not. She's down at a scientific conference here, and I tagged along, man. I mean, so
Cool.
I jump on every the travel. I like to travel, and she travels with me during Alabama's run at 5 out of the last 19. So I travel with her, and she travels with me. So I guess it's just the byproduct. I've been sitting here in this hotel room talking on the radio, and I'm sure the neighbors in my side rooms here probably think, what's that crazy lunatic talking about over there?
Hey, back to Childers, though. That guy's an idiot. I'm sorry if he's your friend, but I fully support what Saban said, calling out the students. I mean, if they're getting tickets, I don't know exactly how it works, there, but if they're getting tickets and they're not going to the game, I hope at least they're making a fair effort to get rid of them.
All right, so let me
sell them, but
let me add to this. Let me kind of explain, and for those students, we've got a couple of students that are that helps us out here, and if I'm wrong, you guys jump in. There's an opt-in program where you opt in April or May. They'll send out an email, and they ask you if you have an interest in buying tickets. Now, they give these tickets for cheap. I think some games are $5, some games may even be $10, but it's a cheap, really highly discounted ticket package. And you guys could tell me back there in the station, I think it's probably $50, $60, $70 for the entire season for all the games. Okay. Now, a lot of the games are free, like basketball, I think it's free. Gymnastics is free. Baseball's free. But football is a little something. Maybe it's $5 or $10 a game. And you buy this package, and so you're guaranteed tickets. But by buying the package, you basically tell them that you have an interest in going to the game. Well, then what happens is the tickets are sold, and then they don't show up, and then that develops the big problem.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, for me, it's a 12 o'clock game. It's not so bad. But if I was within driving distance of the stadium, I mean, I'd be there every weekend if I could. We lived in Huntsville, and we used to go to games. Down here, it's a little bit more difficult. But I just think, people have gotten complacent, and one of the arguments I've heard all day today is these crap games. That's just a casualty of scheduling. I mean, every single team, until we ever get to the point where we have to play all Power 5 teams, it's going to be that way, and every other school has it. I mean, if you look at Ohio State's schedule, they play Rutgers, Indiana, Illinois, Maryland, Purdue, Minnesota every year, and then they're out of conference games. Tulane, I'm sure they get their students there, so that's not it. And it doesn't have anything to do with Childers said as Saban created this. I mean, to me, the winning of the championships makes me want to go to games more. I mean, I want to go more. I wouldn't pass up an opportunity to get to a game if I could. And, we play, even in our conference, I mean, those schools, Rutgers, Indiana, Illinois, they've never won anything. They're never going to win anything. Now, I know Tennessee's been down, but we have teams in our league that we play every year that have won national titles and possibly are going to win them in the future. I mean, that's the thing. We recruit so much better than any other conference, and even our bad games are still, games that our fans want to go see. I mean, I would never want to go see Rutgers, Indiana, Illinois, Maryland every single year. And this whole argument about our out of schedule or our out of conference schedule, that is such crap. That is such crap. Every single powerhouse school has to play those games. It's no different than us, and we get ragged every year because right before Auburn we play the Citadel or some other team like that. I don't care when we play those games. Every other team doesn't matter to me if we play them in week 1 or 2, or if we play them in week 11. It makes no difference. I don't. Who's that? Tim Brando. It was on that a couple of weeks ago. How bad Alabama's schedule is, and it's just not. I mean, if you looked at the strength of schedule, we're ahead of Ohio State.
But why is it bad? It's because these other teams have stinking it up. I mean, it's the other teams that have stunk this thing up. I mean, is it Alabama's fault because Arkansas is not worth a darn?
No, it's not. And Arkansas, I don't know that they've ever done anything. Maybe you could throw them in the same league as Rutgers, but but Mississippi State, Ole Miss has been good. I mean, I just hate this argument about these crap games in our out of conference schedule. We're no better, no worse than anybody else. Our strength of schedules, top 30, 35 every year, usually more than that. It's just an excuse. I mean, people need to get their butts out of their bed and go to these games. And I get where people, lose interest when it's fourth quarter or even halftime in this past week where it's 40. I mean, my wife starts doing other things, but I don't turn the game off and go do something else. I enjoy watching Alabama football no matter who they play. I mean, I take the games and watch them some during the summer. Sure. I can't get enough of it, man. I want to see it, and some games are interesting. You're on the edge of your seat, and others aren't. But I still want to see the games. I still want to watch them play. I want to see how our players look. I want to see the seconds and the thirds get in there and do well.
So to summarize this, David, and I got to run to break. You don't have a problem with what Nick Saban said.
I have no problem with what he said, and I'm glad he said it.
Okay. That's what I'm looking for. And I appreciate you for being a part of the show, David. Thank you for calling in.
Ryan. Roll Tide.
David in Tampa, Florida, listening to us on Tide1029.com on the app. We're going to come back. I got Dale, I got James, and I got a ton of other time for a lot more callers at 205-342-9904. You'll hear that Nick Saban audio in 10 minutes right here on the game in T-Town on Tide 1029. Let's go to Dale. Dale, good afternoon, sir. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan.
How are you, Dale?
I'm good. I'd like to congratulate you on such a great interview with Stedman Shealy, man. That was classic. You need to hang on to that one, man.
That was a good one. He was fun to talk to. It was all him, nothing me. I've learned to get out of these guys' way and let them talk about
He was my favorite quarterback. Just for you to know that. To me, cool. He's an all-time favorite quarterback. He wasn't the most talented quarterback that we've ever had, but to me, he was one of the greatest leaders and just greatest examples. Set example, with his faith and everything. Ryan, back in those days, man, the whole team was that way. You had a whole team full of Christian athletes that were like heroes to me growing up. Do you remember Gary Rutledge? You know about him, right?
Well, I know about him, but I don't remember him. I was born in '78.
Oh yeah, when I was just a teenager, he came. I don't even know if I was quite a teenager, but he came to Mount Olive Baptist Church during revival time, and we would all meet down. All the youth would meet down at Lake Lurleen, and they would have youth rallies, and he would come out and speak. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Stedman Shealy came later on. As I grew up, they always had those kind of rallies. And I see a lot of similarities now, Ryan, for the team now with the youth. The Christian faith that's spreading through, and that kind of thing. When I looked at the game Saturday, I watched down there and I saw Tua and I saw Jalen over there, like praying and stuff. Looked like, and and the way their relationship is, it resonates through that whole team, man. That whole team. And that's kind of the thing that concerns me about folks not coming to support those kind of guys, man.
Gotcha. Well, let's go back to last night, and I got this top of the hour coming up in about. But let me ask you: when you listen back to Nick Saban, did you have a problem with what he said? Give me your thoughts on it.
No, did I not say it last week? Did I not mention that last week? You don't remember my call in?
You did, because you said I only get a couple of games a year, and this is one of them, and I'm going to go.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: what is your favorite cupcake, Ryan? What's mine? Mine is red velvet.
My favorite cupcake.
This should be easy for you now.
My favorite cupcake?
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of cupcake?
I don't know.
Mine's red velvet.
Well, but I guess I like them all.
I like it with that white icing.
Oh yeah. Now we're talking. Yeah.
But anyway, I say that to say this: if we're gonna have cupcakes, why don't we get a local cupcake, one that people would really enjoy, might have a little flavor to it? Why don't we schedule somebody like UAB or South Alabama or somebody like that, Troy? Would we wouldn't have to go to their place like you were saying a while ago, would we?
No, we wouldn't. But I don't know if
you don't think that would draw a little more interest with some of the students and fans? And I mean, if we're going to do it, I mean, we might as well go out.
I hear you, but I don't ever think that's a possibility.
Sometimes it could break the monotony and change things up. I don't know. Anyway,
it's a good idea, but I don't think it's. I think the chances of us playing UAB or Troy are slim to none.
Yeah, maybe so. But what I think this is going to do, if we continue at the rate we're doing, and I don't know if you thought about this, but recruiting, man. I mean, don't some of the recruits come to these games like this and see this? And
I don't know how many recruits were at last week's game, but I'm sure there was a few. And maybe that's what Nick Saban is trying to do, is he's setting the tone for these future games. When I talk about, when you begin to think about Missouri for homecoming, or maybe it's the Mississippi State or Auburn game. I think there was 4 games left, right? 4 games?
Yeah.
Auburn, the Citadel, Mississippi State, and Missouri. So
I agree with that last caller, though. These other teams, if you look on every one of these other Power 5 teams, they got at least 2 or 3 worse cupcakes than we do. A lot of them FCS schools did. At least Louisiana Lafayette was a Division I school, right?
Oh yeah, no. They were. I mean, they're in the FBS, which is now what it's called, football subdivision. Yeah, they. And Dale, I'm pushed up against this break, man. I do appreciate your phone call. Thank you for the compliments, and we're going to come back. I got a lot of other calls. I got Jumbo, I got Bama Bo, I got Super Joe, and all the other calls. Aaron Torres in 35 minutes. More of your calls and the Nick Saban audio in 3 minutes right here on the game in T-Town on Tide 102.9. Nick Saban making comments following practice yesterday that's got everybody fired up here in Tuscaloosa.
Well, I think it's great. I think that, I think what makes this a special experience here is when we have, great support from everybody in the program, everybody that supports the program, all of our fans, all of our students. I can honestly say I was a little disappointed that there weren't more students at the last game. And I think we're trying to address that. I don't think they're entitled to anything either. And me personally, I think it ought to be first come, first served. And if they don't want to come to the games, they don't have to come. But I'm sure there's enough people around here that like to go to the games and would like for them to come too, because they support the players. So I've never said anything about that before. When I first came here, we used to play that tradition thing up there, and everybody was cheering and excited and happy, and there was great spirit. All right, now they don't even cheer. They introduce our players. Nobody even cheers. So I don't know. Maybe there's something else somebody ought to talk about. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it. Maybe I already talked about more than I should. So you all can beat me up for that if you want. But, look, our players work too hard, and they deserve to have everything and people supporting them in every way and have tremendous spirit for what they've done. And they may not be able to continue to do it. We're going to work hard to try to continue that. But, there's a part of it that other people need to support them too. And there's got to be a spirit that makes it special to play here, because that's what makes it special to be here. And if that's not here, then does it continue to be special to be here or not? I mean, that's a question everybody's got to ask, and I'm asking it right now. So I'm hopeful that we've always had great people travel on the road with us and had great spirit on the road. And we've got great fans, so I appreciate that. But, to see half the student section not full, I've never seen that since I've been here before.
There it is, Nick Saban, with some strong words right here that we've been talking about all day here on the game on Tide 102.9 and 100. the home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Jumbo, what'd you think about Nick Saban? Did you like what he said, or did you dislike what he said?
Well, now, Ryan, you know I had this, we opened up this can of worms last week, and I told you everybody should be going to the games, whether it's hot or not, and I said the exact same thing. These guys are busting their tails out there in that heat to give us bragging rights over beating all these teams and give us pride about having something in our state, which I'm proud of the Alabama Crimson Tide. I love this university. I love this state. You know, and I used to drive. Yes, I agree. I agree with everything that man said. I'm totally on board with that man, and he is exactly right. I have driven from the military up in Norfolk, Virginia. I left at 12 midnight to make a game at 12:30. Got here right before the ball game. It was against Tulane for homecoming, and I want to say it was 91. We beat them 62-0. Stayed for the whole game. Left after the game, fought traffic, got back to Norfolk, Virginia at 6 o'clock the next morning, had to stay on duty, 24-hour duty that whole day Sunday. And I used to do it in Pensacola all the time, whether it was 11 o'clock game away or at home, I was there. If I had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd done it. These students, if they don't want to go, I say cut the student section in half, make them pay regular price for the tickets. The other half of the tickets, give them to the public, because there's fathers and sons out there that want to go to these games and want to take their sons and to have that experience. And if we're not giving it to them, then something is wrong. And a lot of the students out there are nothing but a bunch of spoiled brats. You know, they think everything's just supposed to be handed to them. They're paying $5 and $10, and here we are paying $150, $200, $300 for regular season, and then $1,000, $2,000 for playoffs and bowl games. So I agree with what Coach Saban said, and I support him 100%. And you know I work on the weekends, and boy, if I didn't, I would be a season ticket holder, and my wife and I would be right there in that stadium if she's able to go, because she's disabled. She's got a bad back and some other stuff. We would be there. If not, I would have somebody go with me. So I agree with them. We have to support this football team. These guys are killing themselves out there for us, and we owe it to them and the university and that football team to give them our support and be there for them, whether it's on the road or at home. Do you agree?
Well, and I do. There is more things that, you know, we could kind of meet these fans a little bit halfway, okay? We could, you know, these 11 o'clock games, they're rough. They're tough. They're challenging. Bad competition. Complacency has set in. I also think that in some ways the university has invited. Jumbo, why are you an Alabama fan?
The minute I jumped out of my mother, I hollered Roll Tide. And
Okay.
then my family have all been Auburn fans, Alabama fans, and I have
All right.
loved it.
So
I've loved Bear Bryant. I met Coach Bryant when I was younger, and it's just to watch what has happened over my lifetime with this team, and to be so proud and to be there. I was there during the losing seasons. I remember 4-11 in 1997. I was there for just about every football game because I was a season ticket holder. But I love them. I'm passionate about them.
But see, that love has been cultivated over all these years of supporting Alabama football. You've been through the rough days, the dark days. You've been through the good days.
Yep.
But see, there's a lot of fans that have now jumped on, and I welcome these fans. I think it's great that we have them on board. But we got a lot of ship jumpers right now, okay? If Alabama goes back 7 or 8 football games, they're going to be off to another team. They're going to be on to their next team. They're not going to apply to Alabama. You know, there's a strong correlation with success on the football field and the number of applications they get in the admissions office here at Alabama. And I think we're inviting a lot of these students. They don't know anything about Alabama football. I mean, you mentioned Coach Stallings to them. They'll look at you like you're speaking a foreign language. They will.
Exactly right.
And I think that's a part of it. Is several years ago, the education system in the state of Alabama and throughout the country, we were in an economic downturn. Now, we have since, I was looking at the Dow Jones. It's closing this week at record marks, highest mark ever. Okay, so we're bouncing back up. We talk about economically. But as a university, we made a decision to grow our university, which is great. I welcome all those. I think it's great for our local economy. I think it's great for the city of Tuscaloosa. I think it's great for the Alabama brand. But we made a decision to and get outside. In other words, if I told you 60% of the students at Alabama are from out of state, that doesn't seem fair to me. That doesn't seem like that number should be that tilted that much in the other way. And so when you talk about it,
I can understand that.
there's a big divide, and I'm not going to get into it, but I do know something about it. There's a divide right now between the president. Well, I don't know if I want to say divide. There's a difference of opinions from the board and from some of those that are in the administration, because they want to continue getting these out of state, but there's also some people that want to say, no, let's back off that a little bit. I think that number's tilted in the other way. And I think if you create, they're turning down Alabama students that are from the state, and they're going to other universities. Unfortunately, they're going to school across state. They're going to other universities because they got turned down here, and they're accepting out of state. They're accepting a ton of out of state. I think it's 60-something% is from out of state. Well, when you don't grow up developing a love for Alabama, it's hard just to automatically accept that. I think that's something to do with it.
I agree. I see your point. And let me give you one more example, Ryan, and this is probably going to make you cringe a little bit. Lived in Foley, Alberta, when I was stationed in Pensacola from 96 to 2000. Had season tickets. Did a couple of radio shows at 104.1 The Dog, which was in Mobile. I did a couple of radio shows for them for Alabama on Fridays. But anyway, Alabama, 1997, was playing Arkansas in Fayetteville. It was the coach, I can't remember his name, it's his first year. We had the hurricane going on. I left my 2 kids and my wife there, and I drove to the ball game. You asked me about my love for Alabama football.
Well, and certainly you displayed it.
And I drove there and left them there. And she ended up going to her aunt's house in Meridian. But I went to that ball game by myself, and that's my love. That's how much I love. That's how much I love football at Alabama.
Most certainly, man. You've displayed that, and I appreciate your phone call. And you're what separates this university from a lot of other fans out there that are around college football. That's what makes this place so special. Jumbo, I appreciate your phone call.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. Let's continue here. Bama Bo, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Good afternoon, Ryan. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I hope you are too.
I'm doing wonderful. Hey, before I get to my attendance comment, I would like to implore the listening audience and callers to please do a better job when they call Coach Stallings, because us listeners like to hear football, and I know he's had some health problems, but he's back to being really sharp, Ryan. And I would like to hear more football talk with Coach Stallings, and he deserves that respect, in my opinion. That's what he's on here for, and that's his passion. And I would like to hear more of that and maybe a little bit less of rehab and so on and so forth, because I don't think he wants to talk about himself. Coaches don't typically like to do that. Saban don't want to talk about himself. But I just want to throw that out there. Better calls for him would be, he deserves that. But back to the students' attendance. And I was at that game, Ryan, and I knew the attendance for the most part was but the student section was just so blatantly obvious that it was empty. It was just blatantly obvious. You could look around the whole stadium and just see this big empty space. And I'm going to take it from a different angle just quickly. I've got an 18-year-old, and I'm telling you, he thinks Saban has been there since the start of football. They don't remember before, right?
Well, I mean, think about it. Think about it. These guys were 9 and 10 years old when he arrived here and started winning.
They don't remember the rough times, and I think part of it is, and this is maybe just a small part of it, but I think it all adds up to a perfect storm for attendance, because these kids are like, we win all the time. We've been winning for 10 years, and they just don't see it. They weren't there for the rough times. And then another part of it is, and I can say this because I got an 18-year-old. 11 o'clock, I can tell you what he would say. It's hot outside. That's how we raised our kids. You know, I was outside till the porch light came on when I was a kid. But these kids are different, Ryan. They don't want to be put out. And, you know, and I'm at fault for that, and as parents are, and we've raised them that way.
I am too. I've got a millennial.
Yeah, we raised them that way, and they just don't want to be put out. I don't think it's as much about cupcakes. I really don't. Not with these students. Now, it may be with adults, but with these students, it is about being put out. And I can just tell you that because I got one. And they don't want to be put out. And they don't remember before Saban, so they don't appreciate it. And, you know, I don't know how you change that. And I understand Saban's frustration, but how do you fix it? I don't know.
Well, I tell you what, if all of them go out there and now they're probably offended, and they probably, you got to remember in the snowflake generation here, we probably had people that were crying last night listening to Nick Saban do what he did. Because he took them to the woodshed and bent them over and gave them a couple of licks with a paddler. Nick Saban took the student population out back and whipped them last night. Absolutely.
And if those students don't pay attention to Saban as much as we do and listen to what he says and what he's not saying and the anger in his voice, he was rough, Ryan. He was mad. And for him to get like that, you know, those students just need to show up. And I don't really know what it's going to take. I really don't. When you've got an 11 o'clock kickoff, like I said, these kids are spoiled. And, you know, I can just, from my personal experience, I know my oldest son graduated from Alabama the same way. They're just spoiled. And they don't really remember what it was like in the rough days. And I think that's part of the problem. They're used to winning.
So I take it that you did not have a problem with what Nick Saban said.
Me? Lord, no. Lord, no. I'm glad he said it. I'm glad.
Me too. Me too. I'd say this. He fired me up. It was a good pep rally.
I'm sitting there wanting to go pop my kids, right? It's like I'm sitting there going, I created these monsters. This is my fault. I wanted to go apologize to Nick Saban. But
maybe we should all get a card writing session, and we'll write our apologies, Nick Saban. Thanks for correcting us. The rest of the 49 other states can produce snowflakes. Maybe we need to toughen our millennials up a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to throw that out there from my perspective because I've got that age bracket, and that's just how I feel about it. But, you know, I think that all couples into the perfect storm as to why a lot of these kids aren't showing up. So, but anyway, have a good day, Ryan. Good to talk to you.
Thank you, Bama Bo. We appreciate that. We'll come back. We got a ton of other callers that we want to get to. Super Joe, DJ K-Dub, you guys are next right here on The Game in T-Town on Tide 102.9 and 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. All right, we got about 8 minutes till we talk to Aaron Torres. Let's split the time here before we have to go back to break, and we're pushed up against this clock here. Let's go to Super Joe. Super Joe, good afternoon, sir. You're in the game.
Going, partner. How you feeling, bro?
Man, I'm great. What'd you think about Nick Saban, what he said last night?
Well, I'm going to talk to you a little real. You know, sometimes a little chastisement is due. And, you know, by the fans leaving. And, of course, we got to look at it in perspective of the coach and the players. You know, they're busting their tail out there in the heat and stuff. And for us to leave early and stuff like that. But then I look at the perspective there, you know, the players are playing, they're moving down. But the fans, you know, sitting, you know. But then again, that heat beams and stuff. And, you know, I would look at that perspective. And I do see where he comes from. And then you got a lot of spoiled students that just think stuff will be handed to them, paying like $10 or $15, and then somebody like old Super Joe gonna kick out his $50 for a game like that, and then sometimes $100, and even like when I pay for SEC championship tickets.
Well, I mean, Super Joe, you've talked about buying tickets before. You've talked about putting on layaway and paying off payments, and I mean, you're a dedicated fan.
That's right, you know, and I'm glad that we see it that way. And then I have to look at things and set perspective because you got to look at it. You have so much of this. Give me, anyway, the way society's so spoiled, especially with students. But then you got to look at this, you know, I ain't looking to get no free tickets. You know, of course, I'm really going to pay for mine. I like to get a good seat. Don't get me wrong. I used to didn't mind taking the nosebleed seat because I was just blessed to get in. I just wanted to get in the building the first time I started going to an Alabama game in 2010. And then once somebody treated me to the Alabama-Tennessee game, That was my first lower level seat ticket. And I said, man, ever since then, that's like when the steak tasted a lot more golden and a lot more well done. And I got spoiled a little bit about the lower level seat tickets and stuff. But, and as for me, I'm gonna stay there through all 4 quarters. I'm trying my best to do that. I'm really busting my tail to do that unless we just really, really up. But sometimes I just enjoy the atmosphere and stuff like that. And I'm gonna stick with Alabama, stick with them. Now, don't get me wrong, I talk to everybody real. I haven't been an Alabama fan all my life, and I wasn't born in the state of Alabama. And so, just like misinformation against Coach Brian.
Well, yeah, but I'm not talking about long-term fans. I'm talking about those who have just on the ship just a couple of years ago. We started winning championships, and they'll be ones. Super Joe, if we go 6-6, you're still going to be an Alabama fan. Some of these guys, if we go 6-6, they're going to be at the next stop. That's what happens when you build a dynasty. You attract new fan base, and that's okay. I mean, we understand that, but I'm just saying some of that I think is due to that. That's my opinion. It didn't cost you anything. It's about worth that. It's worth about what you paid for it.
That's correct, and that's correct. And I'll tell you what, though, and I do understand where Coach Saban comes from. I very seldom ever have a disagreement with him. Plus, you got to look at this too. From my understanding, there had to be a suspension on Tuesday. When I'm on Tuesday or Wednesday, when he had to suspend the defensive back for violating the team rules. I understand he had to suspend the defensive back the other day.
Yeah, he did, Daniel Wright.
Yeah, because guess what? Discipline, is not your enemy. So you can't obey the rules. Then it's somewhere. Guess what? There's going to be a penalty and a consequence in a second. I want to go and pay my respects to the Clemson. The Clemson fan base for their loss of their running back. This my deepest sympathy on that. And I don't know what the cause was of passing away, but from my understanding, it was a running back. Yeah, and I'm giving my condolences to Dabo Swinney and the rest of the Clemson fan base. And I hate it really saddens me to hear about somebody passing away so suddenly. But and as those things happen.
C.J. Fuller and a guy that was part of that national championship run at an early age passed away. We don't know exactly what he died of, but he died. I believe he was 24.
22.
Certainly,
22.
I'll echo that as well. Condolences over to Dabo, and it was a former player. But Super Joe, I got to run to DJ K-Dub, man. I got to run here. I appreciate your call. Thank you, Super Joe. We've been asking the audio. We've been playing the audio multiple times today, and we're asking you if you think Nick Saban was correct. Russ, good afternoon, Russ. You're in the game.
Hey, how's it going, Ron?
I'm good. What'd you think about Nick Saban and what he said?
Well, all right. I want to make 2 points and then sort of maybe offer up a solution. And I'm a former student, lucky enough to have tickets now. But the first point I want to make is, some of these kids, people keep saying, they get discount, stuff like that. They also are paying about $60,000 in tuition. So that's one thing that I want people to keep in mind. These aren't just $10 tickets. They're $10 tickets with $60,000 in student debt.
No, that's fair. No, I mean,
I think sometimes people forget that they come with a little price tag behind them.
No, that's a good point. I mean, they are. Yeah. No, I mean, that's something maybe I haven't thought about, and I appreciate you bringing it to the table.
I just think that they can choose to. I didn't go to the game. I'm lucky enough to have tickets out of college, and I chose not to go to the game, but no one slammed me about it. Well,
but don't you think and let me say this. I think Nick Saban looks at the students as an easier target than, in other words, if he goes out there and starts cracking on the fans, he knows, those are the guys that are donating thousands and thousands of dollars. I think this become an easy target, but I'm not speaking for Nick Saban, but I'm trying to explain. I think he was talking to more than just the students.
I can see that. I think he also has to keep in mind, these are future ticket holders. They may be just students now, and it may be easy to make them the scapegoat, but like I said, these are future regular ticket holders. My solution would be, I think that, the way you went about it, we're still the consumer, and if you're not putting a good product out there, I mean, schedule a Troy or a UAB or, somebody that we actually want to go see, not a UL Lafayette, then that's a product we'd pay to go see,
So, and I think it's also, it's not just the opponent. I think we've also got to clean up some of the concession stand prices. I think we got to make parking easier. There's some things that we're going to have to meet the fans in the middle a little bit. We're going to have to meet these guys a little bit.
I just don't see, to me, if we're going to schedule these little opponents and stuff like that, and I understand that we have to, but I think people would be more willing to go see, South Alabama, UAB, Troy. Why can't we, give some money back to some of these schools in our state? If we're going to give $1 million to a school to come get beat up, why not do something like that?
Well, but the old guard has never been, and I'll tell you why the old guard doesn't want to play in-state schools. For one, if there's nothing to gain for Alabama, and there's nothing to gain by playing Louisiana Lafayette, because if you beat Troy, you beat UAB by 50, then there's nothing. That's what you were supposed to do. So I think a lot of the old guard thinks there's nothing to do, and you almost add credibility to those other programs. UAB and Alabama is always.
But wouldn't you rather go see? Wouldn't you rather go see a Troy, Alabama? As opposed to UL Lafayette. I mean, I think the majority of fans would actually rather go see that, or they'd rather go see a South Alabama.
No, you would probably have guys, players from your area that you might pull for, might have a rooting interest. But Russ, you've given us a lot of things to think about, man. I appreciate you for being a part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted everybody to remember, these kids are going to be paying student loans. I'll be paying them till I die. So, don't forget that they are paying the price tag for these things too.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate that. Great call there, and much different perspective. Let's go to phone calls, 205-342-9904. DJ K-Dub, good afternoon, sir. You're in the game.
What's up there, Fowler? How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Did Nick Saban step?
Say that one more time.
Did Nick Saban step on your toes yesterday?
It depends on if you really believe what you just said. You believe he was just more than talking to the students? Or you think he was really talking to the fans?
I think he was talking to everybody.
Well, the only thing I could really say, but I can't really speak for a whole lot of people. I could speak for a majority of people. For one, I want to put this out there. I've been to every single home game, every single one of them since 2009. Have not missed a home game since 2009. I'm a traveler. I go on the road too sometimes when I get a chance. And, I've been to 5 out of the 6 national championships we done played in. So I kind of take stuff personally, because I know the sacrifice I put into it. Me being a DJ and working late, and trying to get up and get myself to an 11 o'clock game on no sleep. So, it's just different strokes for different folks. Now, I can't speak for the college kid. I can't speak for what their responsibilities are the night before or, saying throughout the day, because that's a different story. And I think, I was at the game Saturday and I looked over there. It was very noticeable. The student section was pretty much empty. I'm just being honest with you. And I looked around.
Now, and I'm not trying to counter the argument, but how much room did you have around you from just regular season ticket holders?
I was just about to go there, right?
Okay.
We together, but I looked around the stadium where I was at. It was respectable. It was not packed, to every seat was filled, but it was very respectable, And one example I can give it is, and I think Nick Saban's not dumb. He knows this. And he one example, because I was at this game too last year when we went to Vanderbilt. It was way more Alabama fans in Vanderbilt Stadium than it was Vanderbilt people. We travel. It ain't a fan problem. Now, it might be a fan problem getting us to stay to the end of the game, but it's not a fan problem getting us there. If you see what I'm saying on that. Now, the students on those, I mean, I think it's a simple solution is cut that section in half. You're gonna have to lower that. You know what I'm saying? Take. You know what I'm saying? Just take half of those on those little lower games. Take half of that section away. Open it up to the general public. Start giving them out to some youth football teams who want to come and see it. You know what I'm saying? It's better than having nothing there. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. Lower the price, make it more affordable for a family event. Because I took my family to the game. I can't take my family to no Auburn game when the ticket $150 a piece. I can't take all 3 or 4 of my family members to that kind of game. But I could take them to this type of game. So it's just, it's different. I appreciate those kind of games because I was available. I mean, I did have enough money to take my family to this type of game. But they just really need to just cut that section down and make it lower the price and start, giving some of those tickets away. If they don't want to come, that's fine. I don't think it's a fan problem. I'm really being honest with you, Ryan. I've been at these games for a long time. I'm a season ticket holder, but I'm not an official season ticket holder. If I could say I've been to those games ever since 2009, every single game straight, I consider myself a season ticket holder. So this ain't nobody who just looking at it on TV perspective. I'm at those games. I'm tailgating before those games. I got to, get back out there and fight. You know what I'm saying? They got to meet us halfway on this park and stuff. I got to walk all the way back to the tailgate, all the way back to my parking spot to break down the tailgate. I'm a big-time tailgater. I ain't talking about taking no pop-up tent out there. And you know what I'm saying? And no offense to anybody who does take a pop-up tent, but you know what time it is when you see the Sons of Saban tailgate. It's in a big inflatable tent. You know what I'm saying? We got several TVs out there. I got DJ equipment. I make that sacrifice. So I know he ain't really talking about me. I'm going to continue. He ain't discouraged me from being a fan. I really think it might be a student problem, but I don't think let me ask you this, because I know I'm badgering, but let me ask you this. Do you think the problem is the day he stops talking about stuff like this is the day we need to start worrying? The day he doesn't have anything to say about anything?
Okay, at the age of 67, or will be, he will be 67 the end of this month, right? Yeah, I think he will be 67. So, I want to make sure that he feels appreciated, and obviously, listen, I've covered a lot of Nick Saban rants, but on this radio station, that last night was authentic. That was a ticked off Nick Saban. That wasn't just smoke and mirrors. That was real. He walked into that room, and if you heard him, see, I was sitting here listening to it. We played it live last night. We always send the show on Wednesday to carry it live, and one of the things that he said first when he walked in there, he started talking about entitlement and all this sort of stuff. I mean, he was hot, man. He was hot, and he was fired up.
Well, I think it was real. I sincerely believe, whether Nick Saban want to believe this or not, and I think he does believe this, is not a fan. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to rant on the students, because check this out. If it went for that student section, a lot of times to get the fans up and start cheering and yelling, there wouldn't be a lot of noise in there.
Yeah, they some funeral home dead people in there, man. They are.
So let's get that.
Maybe we use this as a galvanizing moment. Maybe Nick Saban's going to get us all fired up, man. So
I'm already headed to my seat right now.
He's got me fired up, and I prepped longer today than I have, and I haven't got half my material yet. But he's got me all fired up. DJ K-Dub, thank you, man.
All right, man. You have a good one, man. Roll Tide.
Hey, no doubt. Let's go to Corey, Trustville, Alabama. Corey, good afternoon, sir. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm well, man. Thank you.
I have a question.
All right.
When Saban was talking about entitlement, is he saying that he's sensing his team is getting complacent, or is he just talking about the fans getting complacent?
I think he's talking about a little bit of both. He's trying to guard against his team to keep them from becoming complacent. I mean, he even used the words last night, we're going to see a different team that we're going to play on Saturday that we haven't seen in tape because they're going to play their best game. Listen, man, this is – Barry Jones says it every single week. We're talking about the number one sports psychologist in the country. He is the best coach in college football, but he's also the one sports psychologist too.
With this being Alabama's best team, possibly, there is a chance complacency can set in, just like it did in 2010, just like it did in 2013, and sort of like it in 2014. But I really think with the leadership of this team, I don't think it will. But I hope it doesn't, because this team, I think, is too good to where it shouldn't do it. But you never know. I mean, there's not a lot of returning leadership on this team, and that's kind of what worries me, where complacency will set in. Because like you've said before, there's not a true alpha dog on this team that can tell the players, to kind of avoid that. And in other words, do you fear complacency will set into this team or not?
Corey, I don't know how you can guard against it. I mean, when you're going to beat teams the way that Alabama's going to beat teams, and like Arkansas this weekend, they're going to go on the road. They're a 35-point favorite against Arkansas, according to the experts of the desert. They're going to beat up on so many teams that, homecoming, Missouri. I mean, is Missouri a good team? They got a good quarterback. When you talk about Tennessee, Knoxville coming up, no, I mean, come on. I mean, that doesn't get you fired up. LSU, I mean, we're trying to make LSU into being the New England Patriots, but deep down inside, they're LSU. So, Corey, I appreciate your phone call, man. I'm pushed up against this break, man, but I got JK, I got Tony, I got Jared. I got a lot of other calls, and we're going to get to those coming up. JK, you'll be first up. Tony, Jared, let me remind you, Don Wallace, former Tuscaloosa County Commissioner, is also our official CPA for the game. He has been working for us, not the IRS, in his office in downtown Northport since 2001. The staff at Don Wallace CPA can help you with your small business, just like he helps me daily. We talk about making sure that he works for me, not the IRS. Payroll, income tax needs. Just call Don Wallace or Betty Wilson, 205-345-5595, 205-345-5595. When you get ready to file your 2018 taxes, they can also help you navigate changes in that new tax law. Make sure you've got somebody on your side, and you can do that by getting Don Wallace to be on your side. 205-345-5595. Don Wallace, the official accountant of the game here on Tide 102.9. We'll come back. We got JK. We got Jared in Houston, and a lot more right here on the game in T-Town on Tide 102.9. JK, good afternoon, sir. You're in the game.
Give me the good news, Ron.
Good news is Nick Saban got me all fired up, man. I don't know if he did, if it did it for you, but man, I'm about to run through a wall over here.
No, I stay fired up. I don't need Coach Saban to get me fired up. I stay fired up.
Well, maybe I'll let complacency set in for a little bit.
There you go. And we talked about that.
I started feeling entitled.
And you doubted me. Ron, what do you know about this multi-million-dollar renovation we're going to do to Bryant-Denny?
It looks like it's going to be pretty comprehensive. It's going to increase, and they're doing a lot of things to increase, I guess, fan interest, making it more accommodating for the fans. But a lot of it's going to be more premium seating. Is they're taking out the press box. I know that. That's one of the ways that it affects me personally.
And did I not see plans for a plaza in the end zone? Kind of a milling around section, kind of like what you used to have Bill Turner Field, that kind of thing? Yep, I think so. And did I not also read that they're going to move the student section more toward the middle of the field to enhance the student experience?
Well, I don't know. That proposal was back in June and July, right? I don't know if Nick Saban, I mean, you heard him last night. Did you hear what he said? He said they're not entitled to anything. I mean, boy, he was giving them a spanking. I don't know if they want.
Well, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I'm not necessarily sure that was meant for the students, because if we've all got too old to remember what it was like to be a student, then we're all too damn old. Because I can remember priorities were different in those days. Now, did we get up and walk out of Alabama games when we were up 44 points? Yeah. But what I noticed, now I wasn't at the game, but when it flicked across the stadium on TV, the first thing I did, and I'm sitting in Los Angeles with a bunch of non-Alabama fans, and the first thing I did was, oh my God, that stadium's empty. And it wasn't just the student section, Ryan. Now, that was 11 o'clock. It did fill up more toward when the game got to going.
But
that's just not in the students' lap there.
And I want to talk about progress and improving and improving. But let me tell you something else that's added another dimension of HELL to getting in that stadium.
Metal detectors?
Metal detectors. Listen, it's a hassle, especially for an 11 o'clock game.
Ryan, we had fun with that in Atlanta in the darn near ice storm there, waiting on the president to get in. Every person standing in line at the national championship had to go through. Maybe they had a dozen metal detectors over there to put 80,000 people through. And it was
and those guys,
very cold and bad
do
weather that day.
You know, the law enforcement officers and the security and all that, they do is, there's nothing, I don't know what else you can do, but see, people when at 11 o'clock, they go rushing in there trying to get in. Okay, hey, it'll take me 30 minutes to get to the seat. You know, I'm going to drive 2 hours. I'm going to subtract 30 minutes. I'm going to leave Huntsville at this time. And so it you know, and then you add, there's just too many variables that are fighting the fans. You know, construction. What idiot decided to do construction during football season in downtown Tuscaloosa? I'll never know. Because, see, that's another added element. That's another obstacle that you're making it more difficult for the fans to try to get inside Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Well, Ryan, I went through an employment orientation at the University of Alabama, and slept through most of it because it was about insurance and retirement, and I was a young man in those days. But the one thing that they impressed on us before we left that orientation and started working for the University of Alabama was that, now remember one thing, as an employee of the University of Alabama, that the students are the priority. So when they're walking across the street and don't see you, don't run them over. Don't honk at them and don't cuss them, because you are here for the students. And you know what? That really rang true in all the different positions and in all the different levels that I went through at darn near 30 years working at the university. You're here for the student, and we can't forget that. Now, students are students, and each generation is a little different. We're just dealing with this new generation of students. The next generation will be a little different. But my understanding is that they're moving them closer into the middle of the field to enhance the student experience.
Well, hey,
after all, we're here for the students.
We'll see if that works. Like I said, they better start getting on the good side of Nick Saban. They got 4 games to do it. I'd be there about 2 hours. Let me tell y'all, when Nick Saban walks in, okay, I'm gonna tip off the students here. This is those cheat notes or study notes here. Nick Saban walks in, the Walk of Champions, 2 hours prior to the game. He makes 1 lap around the field. He picks up a piece of grass, and he throws it up in the air, okay? If I was those students and I want those 50-yard line tickets, I'd be in my seat 2 hours prior and be giving it all you got when Nick Saban walks that field just to recognize him. That's what I'd do.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ryan, go over to Baton Rouge and see if they have any trouble filling up their student section. No,
you're right. Hey, it's an organized bunch, man, and it's fun, and they make the atmosphere fun, and I'm always excited to go to Baton Rouge. JK, I appreciate you for being a part of the show, man.
Hey, thank you for the time. Roll Tide, Bama Nation.
Absolutely. We got Tony up next. Tony, good afternoon, sir. You're in the game.
Hey, Roll Tide, Ryan.
Roll Tide to you, man. Where you been?
Roll Tua.
Roll Tua.
You know, this whole student thing, it's a lot of, it's not just students, it's everyone. And it's what I said last week. It's too hot. You just not going to pull people out there who spend so much money. I I mean, what fan base has spent more money than the University of Alabama over the last, say, 8 years?
None. We've used the college fund to travel around Alabama.
I mean, you look at all the big games we've played in, at all the different destinations all across the country, and now we're supposed to go to the stadium at 11 o'clock in September to watch Louisiana Lafayette. And look, I think Alabama. I think it's important to have some games like that. You know, it's good to build depth. Unfortunately, we build depth on everybody that we play. But you know, I think it's a heat factor. Look, I'm a season ticket holder. I haven't been to one game this year.
Oh, Tony.
Listen. And if Missouri wasn't going to be a night game, it would be a 50-50 thing, depending on just how freaking hot it is on that Saturday and the time, or whether I'd go see Missouri. I mean, come on. I mean, you know, that we haven't played anyone to draw anyone out at Texas A&M, and you know, how hot was it to go watch Texas A&M?
Yeah, and I think we've, Tony, I think.
Ryan?
Say it again.
Was it comfortable to go watch Texas A&M?
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, it was good.
It was 150 degrees out there. What are you talking about?
I know, but I watched it from the recliner.
How hot it was. That's not a good experience. I don't care how big the scoreboard is.
Hey,
I don't care.
But I want to go back and address this. You said you were a season ticket holder, and you said you have not been to any of the home games. I think Nick Saban has got a comment for you, Tony. Go ahead, Coach.
So if I sound a little bit pissed, you're right. I am. All right. So, you know, be careful.
All right. There you go, Tony.
Hey, I guess I deserve that. I mean, I don't know if I deserve that or not. I'm just saying that for the people 50 and older going to games at 11 o'clock or children 10
Oh,
and under.
you sound like somebody at the nursing home, Tony. You ain't that old. Come on, man.
Hey, look, it's hot out there. September is a long time
cry
to be
me a
playing
river.
Okay, so now you've changed your position on this. Because I talked to you after the A&M game, and you about had heat stroke at that game. And you weren't even out amongst us, and you weren't even out there with us common folk.
But no. Marquise, we were talking about that was Marquise went to the Texas A&M game.
Oh,
yeah, because Marquise, was it hot out there at Texas A&M game?
I don't know. That press box was pretty good though.
Okay.
You know, it was scalding hot. Look, you know, we've had an awful home.
How did you know? You didn't even go, you said.
Yeah, I live here. I went outside. I know what it is.
Oh yeah, it was hot outside until I got in that elevator and went to that press box.
Man, boy, Tony.
Hey,
I mean,
when y'all are in the, you know, not all of us are living the life of the rich and famous with the press and all out there, eating free hot dogs and popcorn and AC.
Don't forget the cookies.
You know, cookies. What about, and you know,
hey, they give us a bag of Cracker Jacks at halftime. I kid you not.
How much? Cracker Jacks.
Give me a bucket of gummy bears too.
Oh man. You know what? How do you hook a brother up?
You could be the executive producer. Come on out there with us.
I'm in. I'll be glad to do it. I'll even go on the hot dog and gummy bear runs for y'all.
I'll email Roots and see if he can help us out.
You know, Missouri, hey, a night game. That'd be nice. That'd be good.
Okay.
But you know,
I'll see if they respond. But
you know, you can't. You know, the students. You know, that's a couple things on that. First off, who are we trying to get to come to this school? Alabama kids or kids that aren't from Alabama?
Well,
who's the University of Alabama focusing on right now?
Alabama high school kids? So they're focused on out of state, but there's a division right now in the Board of Trustees and some of the administration, because the Board of Trustees wants to put a heavy emphasis on going back to the state of Alabama.
Well, there should be a battle to achieve balance with that. But I think you got a lot of kids here that aren't from Alabama. You got a lot of kids that are from the Northeast or the West Coast or 2 states away from us. Things like football may not be important on the East Coast and the Carolinas and the Virginias and the, Tampa, Florida, or wherever. Where they're bringing the kids in from, they're not necessarily Alabama kids, but the main thing about college, besides we're going to pretend like academia is number one. I know with the students it is. But let me tell you, when you're sitting up in that student section, especially in the areas that got all the guys wearing the sport coats, that's where I was when I was in school. It's all about being social.
Well, Tony, it's all the Greeks' fault anyway, because it was their section and it was empty.
Well, let me tell you, there's a better thing going on where they're going from a social standpoint than there is going on in 100 and something degree weather out in no shade in the student section.
Hey, I got to run the break, man. You've cried enough today, Tony.
Hey, I'm looking forward to a press pass. I'm gonna love that, especially for the Auburn game.
I'll keep you posted if the media relation people get back with me.
Hey, man.
Hey.
Talk to you later. Roll
Thanks,
to it.
Tony. Roll to it. We got Jared coming up in a couple of minutes. Got Matthew from Oklahoma. One line available right here on the game on a Throwback Thursday by Spiller Furniture Mattress here on the game on Tide 102.9 and 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. Let's finish up with our 4 final phone calls. Jared, Houston, Texas. Jared, good afternoon. You're in the game.
What's happening, Ryan?
Man, it's good to talk to you. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing great. I don't blame Coach Saban for being angry about the student section being empty. And to sit here on this radio show, and I'm not going to call any names out. I'm not trying to create beef with anybody, but to sit here on this radio show and listen to people complain about heat. What about those football players when they're going 120 days in the off season, 110-degree heat, running 31-10s and running the stadium every day? How do you think they feel if they're listening to this radio station, hearing prima donnas complain about sitting in the heat for 3 hours, and they're doing it for 6 hours a day for 120 days out of the year when they're not practicing and playing? I just can't buy into that. That's just, everybody knows the standard, and if you don't like the standard, then go find another team to cheer for. But there's a standard at this school, and you better show up and start going to the games, and especially these guys, these fraternities, these frat boys. They better watch it because they'll be without tickets pretty quick. And anybody that thinks Coach Saban ain't got no say in ticket policy is delusional. They are delusional.
He got a fence moved in Bryant City Stadium in about
ahead
4
of time
days.
and under budget.
Yeah.
Ahead of time
Yeah.
and under budget.
Yeah, about 4
anybody
days.
That thinks he don't have a say, you better think twice, because these frat boys that are sitting there getting drunk on Friday night and laying up till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, not going to football games, they're going to lose their tickets. I live 600 miles away, and I've been on the Tide Pride waiting list for years, and I can't as much get an email about, hey, we've got 14 people ahead of you, then hey, you're next. I ain't heard nothing, but I continue to send it every year. And I may not go to every game, but I got family that lives 2 hours south of there in Clark County, and I got friends in Tuscaloosa that I guarantee would be happy to sit in my seat when I'm not there. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. We cannot fill the student section. All the dark days that we went through as Alabama fans through the 80s, and then the late 80s, and then the late 90s, and the early 2000s, all those dark, penalty-ridden days when it was just terrible. You could probably understand it a little bit, but, God dang, we're on the biggest run in college football history, and it ain't going to last forever, folks. It ain't going to last forever. And if I'm a student at the University of Alabama right now, I'm soaking every bit of it up like a big old fat sponge, and I'm going to give every ounce of energy I got to that football team, because if you think it's too hot, go out there and run 110 with them in August when it's 110 degrees out there with no shade. See how hot that is. So, let's think about what we say before we say it, because I promise you, if there's some players listening, you complaining about heat, about sitting in the stadium with a hat on for 3 hours, with your head shaded, complaining about heat, they don't want to hear it. Go follow them while they're running 110-yard sprints for 120 days straight while they're getting ready to play for your school that you go to. Get your butt out of bed and go to the dang game.
Hey, Jared, great call, man. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you for being a part of the show.
Roll Tide. Hey, only one thing I know about the stadium, and I was glad JK brought it up because that's a really interesting topic. But the only factual information I have on the stadium is that Coach Saban donated the first $1 million. Roll Tide.
Hey, no doubt, Jared. Thank you for reminding us that. Great stuff. Matthew, Oklahoma. Matthew, noon, you're in the game.
Ryan, man, let me tell you something, man.
Yes, sir.
These people, I know these folks out here in Oklahoma think I done lost my mind. Look, dude, when you were talking to Tony, I'm telling you right now, dude, when you came back, when he was talking about all this free stuff, and you came back and said, "Don't forget about the cookies," man. Boy, I had to pull over. I laughed so hard. I ain't never, man. I ain't.
That
never
was
lost
Marquise
like
that said, "Don't forget about the cookies."
you said, "Don't forget about the cookies." Boy, you got me, boy. I got some serious stuff I want to talk about, but when you said that, I'm telling you what, boy, these folks out here in Oklahoma said, and plus I got on all my Bama gear. You know, I got on Bama t-shirt, shoes, pants. I got on Bama everything, man. These folks think, man, who is this nut right here? But anyway, look, man, I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years before I did 18 years as an Alabama State Trooper. But Brian, I believe in, I got that military attitude, and here's the thing, man, there is just too much question. You don't question a 5-star general, okay? When a 5-star general say something, you say yes sir or yes ma'am, and you go ahead and do whatever they tell you to do. That's just like when you move from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Ryan, you're a 5-star general, dog. You know it. You're a 5-star general, my dog. And when you move from 6 p.m. to 2 p.m., what do we do, Ryan? We stepped up, right?
Right.
We didn't question you, dog, because you're a 5-star general. Okay? There's too much questioning of Coach Saban going on here, man. What we need to do, man, is we need to just these students better get their butt to the game, or they're gonna wind up without some doggone seats.
Well,
what's gonna happen?
And Matthew, if you heard me at the open up at the 2:00 hour, I started reading off the DeBose days and the Price days and the Shula and the Fran days. It gives us a sense of appreciation. Sometimes you got to go back and reminded what we didn't have. We can remind what we currently have.
Right. Well,
so
they better get the butt to the game if because I'm telling you, the general has spoken, and when the general speaks, you better get the moving. That's all. And I'm gonna wrap it up because I know we out of time here, but I'm just gonna say this. I will guarantee you for the rest of the season, I will guarantee you this right here, Ryan. That student section will be packed because you know what? The general has done stood up and spoken, buddy. You watch what I'm telling you. It ain't gonna be no empty seats in there from now on. Ryan, keep up the good work, brother. You my dog, man. You got it going on.
Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, sir. Matthew out in Oklahoma listening to us on the Tide 102.9 app. Let's continue taking a lot of calls from outside of the state. Ellis, Manchester, Tennessee. Ellis, good afternoon. You're in the game.
Well, these crybabies whining because it's hot.
Well, the regressives have made us all soft, man. I mean, we're all snowflakes.
Look what one thing they done is they got us stationed so we can get water, so we don't have to buy the $5 bottle of water. You're able to carry a empty bottle in so you can fill it up and get free water.
Really?
Did you notice that?
No. How do they do that, Ellis?
Well, it's like a big old. It's shaped funny, Ryan, but you can walk up to it and there's like spigots on it, and you just push the button and hold your bottle underneath it, and the water comes out and you fill it up.
Is cold water?
It's got like it's cool water. It's not lukewarm. It's cool water coming out of it. You know, which is good. But they've even done that. I noticed that this year. And that wasn't there last year. So I just think all these people crying that it's hot.
I drive nearly 4 hours down there and stand around out in the hot talking to all of my friends, and then go inside and sit and watch the ball game and hot, but I don't whine about it because I'm happy that I'm down there and happy that I'm able to watch history in the making down there. Because it might not be like this ever again.
You're
next
right.
year it could be something different or whatever. So, I'm going to ride it until it can't be rode no more.
I got you. Well, it's listen. It's a lot of fun to support this greatest dynasty, and listen. Nick Saban had a right to say what he said last night. Okay.
Yes, he did.
I don't disagree with many things that Coach Saban, and there's always a reason. And Ellis, I'm gonna have to end the show coming up here in about 2 minutes. But let me do this. Nick Saban fights enough negativity outside of the program from these negative recruiters, and it's he's hearing a lot of it from LSU and Georgia and all this, and I appreciate it. For what he's meant to the University of Alabama. Ellis, I got to run to one more final call, man, before I get out of here.
All right, but hey, I appreciate him too, and that's why I come down there and watch him where it's hot, cold, whatever. I'm there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ellis, for your phone call. Let's continue here. Our final phone call, Nicole. Good afternoon. You're in the game.
Hey, Ryan. Thank you so much for taking my call, and I'm going to be quick because I know you got to end, but I want to echo everything that the rest of the callers just said. And unlike Jared, I am going to call Tony out and tell him this. It's Alabama in August and September and half of October. What else do you expect? It's hot. That's just what it's going to be. And if you don't want to go because of the heat, don't buy tickets. Give other people who will go and support the opportunity to get those tickets. Like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard, to spend your money and not go because it's hot. Like, you did not think that it was going to be hot in Alabama.
Great point. Great point, Nicole. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks, and roll tide, and thank you for everything that you do.